So I've taken a little time off of Rivals the past week or two, just taking care of some other obligations. But in the meantime, I did go ahead and play 25 games on my alt on Thor. I got my 80% win rate on the leaderboard, all that. I got that out of the way. And have still been doing some VOD reviews and coaching. And there's some common, I wouldn't say mistakes, but just knowledge gaps for Thor specifically with microtech type things that I keep seeing in a lot of the VODs that I'm reviewing. Because when you're doing VOD reviews for higher level players, one of the first things you notice is like, you can say, okay, you shouldn't have, there's no reason for you to be back here, you shouldn't have surged in here, why are you back here? And when you're talking to them, they know they fucked up. So the feedback that you're giving is more like, here's where you did the thing that you know you're not supposed to do, more than it is teaching them anything new. But for a lot of it, when it comes to like decision making or like little adjustments in gameplay, it genuinely was like a lack of knowledge about a specific small microtech type thing. So I just want to cover some what I call microtech for Thor. I'm not really sure how much of this is like known or whatever. So if it's stuff that you already know, whatever. The first one, and I saw this in so many games, was they would start the game, the door would be opening, and they would wait for the countdown. It would say like 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, so they could surge out as soon as they left, right? Because they know that that's like the optimal way to make the most distance in whatever time. But what they didn't seem to know was on respawn, that's actually not the optimal way. So the optimal way on respawn, what they would do is they would come out here, they would walk a little bit, they would hit their surge, and they would say, okay, well, I'm going to surge back to the point. It's going to go faster. I'm going to surge, I'm going to surge, I'm going to surge. The problem with that is that surge has a property to it that you might have just noticed, where Thor's normal walking speed is 6.5 meters per second, but Thor's walking speed while surge is up is a lot slower than that. The unique thing about surge, and I don't know why it has this property, is that it actually doesn't apply that walking speed debuff while you're in the room. So every time you're in a spawn room, you're not actually slowed while you're doing that. And it doesn't apply it if you started it while you were still in the room. So for when you're running back to a point, if you're trying to get back there as fast as possible, if you're the only one that died or only 2 of you died and they're still fighting on point, or you're trying to get back there as fast as possible so that you can like keep the match in overtime or whatever, I would see so many people do this where they would like come out and then start and then go, right? That's wrong. The optimal way to do this, that is mathematically optimal, is to actually start it right as you're crossing the barrier. You don't take the walking speed debuff, you go further, you go faster. So, very small. It's not going to like make or break games. It's not going to bring you up 3 ranks overnight, but it will get you back on point faster occasionally. Small, trivial, whatever, but it is something that's out there. Second thing I saw a lot of people doing, and again, this is super micro, but like when you're going up against a raccoon or a Jeff or a fucking Black Panther or anybody that's got like a really good ability to get away from you, to leave your line of sight, and you're in Awakening Rune and you're throwing these at them and they're up and all of a sudden they're out of line of sight up here, I saw so many people just keep tunnel visioning thinking, oh, if I just keep spamming it up there, maybe he'll peek out and I can kill him or whatever. That's not true. It's not going to happen, especially not at higher level play. The optimal thing to do, mathematically, is you lose somebody up here, you switch to somebody down here. You start pumping them into people that you can actually hit with it. There's no reason to keep trying to chase that dude down with tunnel vision, especially if he's over 150, because they do 75 damage apiece, right? So if he's over 150, you're going to have to hit them with 3 more runes, and you're already having trouble hitting them with just the 1 by the time he's like running away from you and getting up in little, especially Raccoon, like getting up in crevices and roofs and shit. You don't have the mobility while you're in Thor Force, or while you're in Rune to chase him. So you're just shooting from down here for no reason. Just aim at something else. Super easy. And it seems very obvious when I say it, but there were so many games where I saw people doing that. And it's just like, you're wasting your damage. You're in this state for 5 seconds. You only have so many throws of it, and you're throwing them at a fucking wall because you're just like praying that maybe he'll be dumb enough to peek back out at you or something. Don't do that. put the damage into something that actually puts pressure on the healers, maybe can actually secure a kill or causes somebody else to retreat. Let's see, surges in general. This is something I have to coach to a little bit too. So there's one like little micro thing with surge that nobody really seems to do. But this is part of a broader conversation about horizontal versus vertical surging in general. So if you surge somebody straight up and they come back down, you can surge them out afterward, and then they take 80 damage from the surges as opposed to just taking 40 from surging them out once. So what I see a lot of people do is they'll have a target, they'll throw down their realm, and then it's like, in their brain, they know, okay, well, they take 40 and get slowed if I push them through it. So they just push them through it. But that 40 also works vertically, and then if you do it vertically, they fall right back down into it. So then if they try to leave, they take another 40 and another slow. Or you can push them out and make them take another 40 and another slow. And you can do hammers the whole time that you're pushing them up in the air too. So when you do this, you have to swing afterward, right? And they're on the ground. And they're moving and you're chasing them or whatever. When you do this against a character that doesn't really have any real movement abilities, like a Mantis or a Warlock or a fucking Magneto or Groot or whatever, you do this and you're hitting them, you can still hit them on the way down. And then you get your 3 swings and you push them out. And that's a kill on 275. So if we take, let's say Luna... That's a kill every time. Now, granted, the second one in that sequence, it's usually actually better to do, just from a numbers point of view, if they're still close enough and you can hit it, to do that, you're 1, 2, 3, and then that. But if they run out on their own, then they're taking the 40 and you can surge into them, or you can catch up to them however you want and still give them more damage too. So the whole point of it, this part of the conversation, is vertical surge people in Lightning Realm, they come back into it and then you can push them out a second time. Or when they run out, they take the damage a second time. You're basically double dipping on the realm stuff, whereas just pushing them out horizontally, they're only going to take it once. They don't have any incentive to run back into it. You push them out sideways, you get your 1, you're chasing them down, they're slowed a little bit, but they're never going to come back over here, and then you're out of it too. Push them up, let them fall back in. On the topic of vertical surging broadly, though, that's something else I wanted to cover too, because people just, when I'm watching VODs, so many people exclusively do this all game. The only time I ever see vertical surges is when it's like accidental, and they're doing it because somebody's on a stair or something, and then they'll do it like that, or they're already aiming up here because they're on lower ground, and then they'll do a vertical surge by accident. Vertical surges are super useful. We'll cover the math on this really quick, but when you do a surge, it's 10 meters. Like, no charge surge is 10 meters, okay? So look straight ahead, you'll go 10 meters every time, okay? When you do a full charge one, straight ahead, it's 20. That one wasn't quite straight ahead, so it fell a little bit short. I'll explain the aiming component of it too in a sec. But when you hit somebody with it with no charge, it doesn't go 10 anymore. It takes you 6. It takes you 6 meters from wherever you were. Every time, 6. When you do a full one, it takes you 13. That one looks a little bit further than 13, but I know it's 13, okay? So it's anywhere between 6 and 13, depending on the level of charge. It's also anywhere between 40 and 60 damage, depending on the level of charge, and it's proportional to how much you charge the ability. So like here would be about 50 and like anywhere between the midway point between whatever 6 and fucking 13 is. I think it's like 9.5 or something. I don't know. Anyway, 40 damage raw, 60 damage fully charged, 6 meters to hit something raw, 13 meters to hit something fully charged, and then 10 meter distance raw, and then 20 meters fully charged. So those are the numbers that you should be keeping in your head every time you're doing a surge, right? When you're pushing people vertically and you're keeping those numbers in mind, like I know that the distance between there and there, 6 isn't going to quite do it, so I should charge it a little bit. If I just do that flat, it's probably not going to hit. And then there is a component of it where it actually relies on where the reticle is too, because it changes the angle that it moves at. So you should think of it like a triangle. Okay? So, boom, you can pop them up, because the hypotenuse of the triangle between there, and you'd think of it like a fucking right triangle, 6 meters is just enough to get them up on the ledge. Now, when you're on other maps where there's like a big window or something, so like the end of that, whatever that map is called, where the Fantastic Four bullshit is, there's like a big window up on both sides. You can push somebody further up into that window, body block them out of the window, and force them to 1v1 you and take them out of whatever fight is happening down on the cart for that entire like 3-4 seconds, unless they run around or have some movement ability to get around you or CZ you or whatever. These are numbers that you should be keeping in mind whenever you're playing as Thor and you're using your surges, because too many people are just, they're not taking advantage of like how disruptive moving up is. Like I was showing in the lightning round thing too, you can hammer them on the way down. It's also got the same benefit as Strange L-Shift does, where you are putting yourself up in the air, which makes you easier for your healers to target, and whatever you're hitting is a lot easier for your DPS to target. Also, if they're big body blockers and they're in the front line, or they're shield tanks, like let's say you got Magneto on the front line, and he's holding up a shield, whatever, and you're, you know, waiting, nobody on your fucking DPS on the front line down here can do anything because he's got a big shield up, push his dumb ass up out of the way. Now they can shoot under him, or you push him, like, you can push him to the side, or you can push him back, and it's not really going to do that much, because he's just going to move right back over. If you push him up, somewhere he doesn't want to be, into a building, into a like crevice, behind a like onto a bridge, whatever, you've got a lot more control of his ability to get back to the point quickly. Also, it really like disorients people. When I do that to people, I feel like it's like they're almost stun locked for a couple seconds. They don't really know what the fuck they're doing. They're like, oh, I'm in the air now. I'm lost. I've completely lost track of what I was aiming at, where I was aiming. It takes them those couple seconds to readjust to what they were doing. So Mag, he was probably looking into our backline, trying to find a support to pick off past me. If I push him up in the air like that, we ain't doing that shit anymore. So vertical surges are really useful. You don't always have to go horizontal with it. The other thing with vertical pushes is the downward verticality. So if you know that it's like 6 and you're trying to push somebody off an edge, you kind of get the sense that you can do that with a regular push and he'll go off. Like, that's pretty easy. People kind of get used to the spacing on that. There is another thing too there where you can just look down and push them off. It's a lot easier and you don't have to do it nearly as much, because it's the same as trying to figure out the hypotenuse of the right triangle when you're doing the vertical pushes, right? So you're just making a right triangle, you know where you're going to end, and you know about how far he's going to go when you hit him, based on how far you move. So you could do that, and you don't really have to aim for it or whatever. And in the moment, like in a real game, if you just go like that, this fucking lip will catch you every time. But in a real game, as long as you're like relatively close to him, if you go like that, you'll push him off pretty much every time, because he'll move back a pretty consistent amount. Oh, since I haven't made a video since Emma came out, there's an Emma specific stuff that I see a lot of people do. So Emma has the diamond form cooldown that has this move. It's a 6 meter dash. And what I see so many people like Thor's do for some reason is 2 things against her. One, she'll do this and then they start backpedaling. They're like, oh, okay, well, she got a crystal on me and I know that that means that I need to backpedal. The other thing is that they'll see her do diamond form and they'll say, oh, I should backpedal because I know that she can dash me. These are both wrong, okay? Don't backpedal away from the Emma in either situation there. The dash will catch up to you if you're backpedaling. And the crystal, she's going to break by the time you make the 15 meter range. So when she puts that crystal on you, it's 15 meters you have to get outside the range of 15 meters of it, or it will damage you when it explodes. To break the bond of it, you just have to make that distance. So when she does that, and I see people doing like this, it's like, okay, well, it's going to take you 2.5 seconds. She can break it in that time. A little bit under 2.5 now, but still. The correct way to handle that is if you get crystaled by a Emma, you leave. You do a 180 and walk away. And then if she diamond forms near you, vertical. You go up and out. You don't ever want to get caught where she can dash into you 6, and you know that your dash is 10. So if you go vertical and you're going 10, she's not going to catch you. That's the correct. So as soon as you hear that sound cue, just up and out for both of them. And the more vertical you get with the diamond form one, it's better because the more vertical you are, the less chance she's going to have of ever being able to catch you with her 6 meter vertical too. Like, she just will not have the range to do it. But with the crystal specifically, you kind of want to stay level because that's how you're going to make the most of your 10 meter. So if you go, like if she puts a crystal on you here and you go like this, you're actually creating a triangle where you've really only gone 5 away from that. Like, let's say that that's the crystal, and you go, oh, okay, I got a crystal on me. I'm going to go up and out. You're not going to make the full distance. Unless you charge it a little bit. But if you just go straight, you'll make it super easy. As long as you keep walking. So, something to keep in mind with her. And then if she does grab you in the choke slam, the answer is still vertical. Because you don't want her following up with kicks and punches and bullshit. So, the other thing I want to talk about is Thor's ult. So, Thor's ult gets a lot of shit. And there's always people talking about like, oh, Thor's ult needs to be buffed, it needs to be better, and I wish it stunned people and blew them off the map and fucking disintegrated them like Wanda and just knock people down and all this other stuff. Thor's ult is, compared to other tank ults, really not that bad. And I don't just mean Penny, I just mean in general. So the thing about the other ults is that their value isn't that they do more damage, it's that they have more utility for the rest of the team, and Thor's really doesn't. But I think it's because people just aren't realizing what the utility for the team is. It is area denial in a way that people don't really think about, especially like putting it over a like a point or like a payload or whatever. But also, it's really good for securing kills before anybody else needs to waste their ult to win the team fight. So, like, let's say you're in a 1v1 situation, you get somebody down to like there. A lot of people don't know the math on this, and it's probably because the math on the fucking website and the wiki are both wrong. But what they say on those is that Thor's ult is 1.5 seconds, does a tick of damage every 0.5 seconds of 40, and then does 220 on the slam. That's wrong. His ult is 2.5 seconds. It does a tick every 0.5 seconds. So it's actually 200 damage just in tick before you even do the slam. So this motherfucker right here is at 50 health now just from ticks. Where that's useful is like, let's say you're fighting somebody, you got them down, they're so low, and they use a movement ability to get away, and you're not going to be able to catch up with them. But they're so low. Oh, they just dashed. Oh, they just did whatever the fuck. Dude, just pop your ult. He's dead. He's going to be dead in 2 ticks. It's a lot easier, especially if you're out of Thor Force, or if you don't trust your ability to like hit them with that because they're a moving target, or if you don't trust your ability to surge into them because they're a moving target or whatever. Just do the ult. Secure the kill. And the time that it would take to kill them, which is, if it's 2 ticks, going to be 1 second. They've got 1 second to get out of line of sight or get a heal or whatever. It's always going to be worth it. Instead of like hoping that you're going to be able to hit this on a moving target, to instead just go, okay, you're not getting away. Fuck you. Those ticks are way more valuable than people think, and it's 200 damage worth of ticks. So if you've got somebody down 120 or less, it takes 1.5 seconds to confirm a kill with it. You should always be doing that. The other thing about his ult, everybody at some point figured out, like, oh, okay, if I pair this with Luna, or if I pair this with Rocket Amplifier, then I can do one-shots on, 275 for Rocket now because it's 25%, or higher for the Luna 40%, which is true, obviously. They don't talk about the other non-ult abilities that you can combo it with that actually are sometimes better than Rocket Amplifier or more utility than trying to pair them with anything else. So the first one that I really like pairing this with is when I have a Sue. Like, let's say I was near them, those two, and I wanted to ult, I would say, Sue, throw your vortex at me. She does. They get sucked in, slowed. They're taking 35 damage a second. It lasts 4 seconds. I'm in the middle of them. I pop my ult, or I pop Realm and then pop my ult. And they're going to die. They're taking 35 a second. They're taking 40 just from her. They're getting slowed. I put my realm on top of it, so if they leave, they're taking another 40 and getting slowed again. And then the slam will also hit them. So if you've got a Sue on your team and you're about to ult, like let's say, oh, I'm gonna hit left bot. Sue, throw vortex on left bot. Boom. He's not going anywhere. He's not getting out of the ult. He's taking all 5 ticks of my damage, and he's gonna die in the slam. The other one that nobody uses, and this one's better because it turns it into a one-shot, is if you have a cloak and dagger on your team and you're about to ult, call out what target you're trying to ult and tell her to hit it with cape. Or him, I guess, technically. Cape does a 28% vulnerability debuff. That's 3% more damage that you're going to do to that target than you would have if you had a rocket amplifier. And nobody combos this for some reason. Back in Overwatch, when I was playing Zenyatta and we were doing Discord orbs on people, it was constantly, okay, Discord on Galactica bot. Discord on Galactica bot. Discord Galactica bot. Discord on bot 1. Discord on bot 2. Nobody calls out Terror Cape in the same way, and it's crazy to me. Because 28% damage, that turns that into a one-shot, and it does 55 damage itself. So on a target like Luna Snow, if you do, or if you're about to ult and you say, okay, her ult's going to be done in 2 seconds, so Cloak, or her ult's going to be done in 5 seconds, or whatever it is. Cloak, I want you to cape as soon as the ult is down, and I'm going to ult. 3, 2, go. She's going to die. She's going to die in that, period. Because even if she gets healed up through the damage of the 55 or through the damage of your tick, because she's got that 3-second debuff on her and your ult lasts for 2.5, she's going to take the 220 slam with a 28% damage modifier. It's going to kill. It does more than 275 at that point. Same for 8250s, obviously. It's you know, implied. There's no reason, if you've got a cloak on your team, to not be calling that when you're about to ult. Or, you know, just asking, okay, are you going to have cape up when this is over? Luna ult's over in 3, 2, blah, blah, blah. Or just call for it into a big group and say, okay, well, I'm gonna try to ult this group over here. Hey, ult, cape on point, cape on point. They hit it, you ult. You know when it's going to, like, you see them go purple, so you know when it hits, you pop your ult. Each of your ticks does more damage because the 28% applies to each tick too. So you're doing more than 50, just a little bit over 50 with each one, as opposed to the 40 per tick. So then you're getting over 250 just from ticks, and then you're doing a more than 275 slam. It's better than having the amplifier as far as numbers, raw damage numbers. But nobody ever combos it for some reason. I have no idea why. Good cloaks will know to do it. Good cloaks, you know, are the same ones that are going to do it into Groot ults and stuff like that. But sometimes you got to ask for it. And Sue, you definitely have to ask for it because they have no idea what the fuck you're doing otherwise. But that alone, that suck into that, and then putting Realm on it, and then doing ult, it kills. Like, it's easy kill confirm without wasting another ult. I would say if you are ulting into another ult as Thor, you are wasting your ult. Because normally with like a Groot ult or Agamotto or whatever, you don't need to ult into that. If your team isn't able to kill in those ults, like unless it's like the very last fight of the last checkpoint, you're gonna definitely 100% like secure winning the game with it. You're probably wasting your ult because a good Agamotto or a good Groot ult, if they were gonna defend and live through it anyway, then your ult isn't gonna be like the big difference maker in that usually, because normally it's gonna be defended by like a countered support ult or something like that if they're going to live through that anyway. If they're not, then they should die. They should at least lose 1 or 2 people, and then you should clean up the fight. So you shouldn't ult into other ults with Thor ult, in my opinion, unless it's absolutely like the game-winning fight and it would 100% like do overkill for you. Another thing I notice people constantly fucking up with Thor ult is they'll do it without doing any sort of cooldown tracking. So they'll throw their ult out and they're like, oh cool, I forced Loki runes, or I forced fucking Soul Bond or whatever, or I forced Cloak Phase, even though it's a 12-second cooldown. That's not the right way to think about your ult. You shouldn't be using, you can do enough pressure with this to force out abilities to where you shouldn't even be thinking like, oh yeah, I should definitely waste my ult to force out a different cooldown. Don't need to do that. And when I give that piece of coaching advice or whatever, they're always just like, well, I didn't know he had runes up, or I didn't know that they had phase up, or I didn't know that Luna ult was lasting like another 5 seconds afterward or whatever. And that's when I realized a lot of people are not using the built-in stopwatch that's in every game that you play to cooldown track. This is like an old, I don't know if this is just not occurring to people or what, but every game that you're in, Convoy, Domination, Convergence, whatever, they're all time-based. So they all have a stopwatch at the very top of the screen. Now, in Domination maps, stopwatch is a little bit different. It's a percentage-based stopwatch, and every percentage point is 1.2 seconds. So there's a little bit of mental math that you have to do. But when you think about the fact that like so many of the ults in the game that you have to track are either based on 12s or based on 30, which is divisible by 6, it's like it's not that hard to do the calculation in your head, right? So for the Loki runes, because they are 30-second cooldown, if 25% passes, that's about 30 seconds. So if you're at, 19% and you see Loki do lamps, it's like, okay, well, I need to count 25% from 19%. And that's for both sides. So that's the only one that's a little bit tricky to count. But on convoy maps or convergence maps where you're carrying the payload, there's a timer up on the screen the whole time except for in overtime. So if you see Loki do lamps and it says fucking 242 on the timer, it's like, okay, well, I know he's going to have it again when it says 212. So anytime between now and 212, I'm safe to do my ult on him without him being able to lamp. Or 12 seconds for Cloak, or 12 seconds for Mag Bubble, or 10 seconds for Hulk Bubble, or 15 seconds after Emma Diamond Form ends. Like, you should know all these cooldowns, and if you don't, you are seriously, like, limiting your gameplay, not only by not knowing them, but by not tracking them. So just use the timer that's built into the game to track them. Your gameplay is going to get way better overnight, because you're not going to be wasting your ult into shit that you should know that they can block, because you have been keeping track of it. Same thing with Luna ult. Like, I was talking to Jeremy about this earlier today, and we were talking about people will ask sometimes, like, oh, how'd you know that Luna ult was right about to end? How are you counting that? It's like, bro, there's a fucking clock at the top of your screen. It's 12 seconds. It's always 12 seconds. It's always 12 seconds. So as soon as you hear old dancing time or whatever the fuck she says, you just count 12 seconds from what the time is, and then you do your ult when it's like 2 seconds left on it. Because you know that, or, maybe a little bit longer if you want more ticks, or a little bit less if you want more ticks. Like, you wait, there's 1 second left on it, but it's very predictable. So, 10% or 12 seconds. Super easy. Just keep that in mind when you're doing your cooldown tracking. I think that was all I had as far as the little list of things that I made. Hopefully you learned something interesting or useful. Like I said, none of this stuff is going to take you, like, multiple ranks overnight or anything, but there is a level of skill expression with Thor play where even people at relatively high ranks for Thor are just not using everything in his kit optimally, and a lot of that, I guess, is just not knowing specific little quirks of how his surge works and shit like that. So no crazy tech to release or anything today. Well, there's this little weird thing. But I haven't found a practical use for this yet, and I'm still playing around with it. But other than that, hope this helps. Take care. Have a good one.